good night's sleep or what? We got a busy, busy, busy day ahead of us. So let's get right on into it. I'm Boss, Joe Boss, and welcome to another Daily Plan. We got some updates this morning on the tariff news. We have, let's go ahead and skip this stuff here on Ukraine. This bit here is new. Here, we'll go ahead and zoom in on all this so it's easy for you guys to see. We're focusing on this area here, US tariffs. So, Trump started and officially is going to begin enforcing the 25% tariffs on pretty much all the goods coming into the US from Canada and Mexico. We had during the press conference yesterday the quote, "There's no room left for a deal," so there was like no last minute save that could have happened like in the last deal. But he also said, hey, reciprocal tariffs for the rest of the world is coming April 2nd, which is not that far away when you really think about it, like a month away. It's a pretty fast timetable. So, as far as the new news we got this morning, this was from yesterday. Sheinbaum, president of Mexico, went ahead and said, hey, we have a plan C, B, C, and D for these tariffs and how to respond. And this morning, she responded with saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and do tariff and non-tariff measures. We're going to find other things that we can do. And she says they will announce countermeasures on Sunday. And then as far as Mexico goes, or Canada, rather, misspoke there. As far as Canada goes, the foreign minister for Canada said, hey, we are ready for our own countermeasure tariffs, our own counter tariffs of 155 billion Canadian dollars on US goods that go into Canada. Now, I already mentioned this in another stream, in a bunch of other research, but I don't think these guys get it. Any retaliatory tariffs will be on the United States, will then be re-tacked on. So we have these 25% tariffs. If they go ahead and do another 10% here or 20% there on a particular industry or on anything, frankly, Trump will duplicate whatever their countermeasures are, which will simply just make it even harder for these countries to do business with the United States. So Trump is saying, hey, either take and eat these tariffs and do what you need to do with the border and migration and drugs, right? Or do what the Canadians and the Mexicans are doing right now and get effectively into a tariff war. Mark Carney, the likely head of, the new, most likely Prime Minister of Canada, already said he's in favor of retaliatory tariffs on the Canadian side, which we will just see who has the biggest dick when it comes down to who can put on more tariffs. But considering Trump has an auto bid function on his own tariffs, I'd assume that US tariffs will always generally be more than whatever the Mexicans or the Canadians will put on the United States. It's like they're not assuming Trump is going to tack on extra tariffs, that the US isn't going to copycat. So these people need to be very, very sure that any additional tariffs that come from Trump copying their retaliatory tariffs doesn't significantly boomerang back and hit their economy in a more significant fashion. Which I'm sure they'll probably find a few But who knows? Trump might say, okay, you raise the tariffs on this one particular industry. We're just going to raise this 25% on everything to 35% or 45%. That would really put off Canada and Mexico, right? Because at that point, it wouldn't be proportional. It'd be Trump doing more, right? Excuse me. And then we got some China tariffs. So Trump signed action to tariff China at 20%. Originally it was 10%. For the longest time, it was 10%. Oh, hold on one sec. Let me not forget to turn on the music. There we go. And put it on at an appropriate level here. A nice little background setup. And remember to tell me if it's too loud or not. I'll be watching the stream chat and I'll be watching the WAP chat. Also, I have a nice little bonus in this extra area at the very bottom. So yeah, the other thing that happened today was Trump also tariffed China at 20%. The original conversation was that he was going to tariff China at 10%, but at the last minute he decided to increase it. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe negotiations, backroom negotiations were souring, and this is a result due to some failed negotiations with the Chinese. And then, just like Mexico did, and how Canada is threatening, China on Tuesday put on retaliatory tariffs on, let's see here, announcing 10 to 15% tariffs on imports for agricultural food products and 25 U.S. firms under export and investment restrictions. And you can see we have links for all these things here in this note. Everyone who hops into the Discord, the Plan the Profit Discord over here, which you can get into through WAP. Once you're in it, and the link to that's in the description, once you're in there, I'll just upload the file here into the general chat. And you can see, hey, we have tomorrow's stream. And then we had a nice conversation here about some Pine script. We had a nice conversation way up here, actually, about how to find how rates are changing, how prices are changing for all these different cash rates of all these different central banks. Alrighty. Good stuff. And of course, the indicators that we'll be going over later on in the stream are available here on my trading view, and if you want access to that, you can get that through the Boss Trading Group Plus indicators package right there. And you don't have to pay $100 a month for it. You can try it out for a 10-day free trial. So let's go ahead and continue on here. There was one particular thing that was new information that reduced some uncertainty in one respect and increased uncertainty in another respect. In the press conference Trump gave yesterday, he said he's going to start penalizing countries who weaken their currencies intentionally with tariffs. So he mentioned China, he mentioned Japan, but he didn't mention the Swiss, right? He didn't mention Switzerland by name. And recently, if you trade the Swiss franc, CHF, or if you are a SNB, Swiss National Bank watcher, you'll know that they are explicitly concerned. Like, they wrote this down in their speeches. Hey, we are not going to do any more FX intervention to weaken our currency because we want clarity on the US administration's policy, because we don't want tariffs on top of trying to weaken our currency here. Generally speaking, the Swiss national franc is a good flight to safety. However, with the Ukrainian war more likely, in my opinion, to end than not, I really am hopeful about that. with the, let's just say, increased probability of peace in Ukraine, the Swiss franc is becoming less of a safe haven. And you can actually see in the euro, right, the nice bump we got here. And a lot of the bump here has come mostly, thank you, Trading Berserker, for the ping, because we were trying to figure out why euro was gaining so much strength here. Because we took some shots on the short side and the yield spreads did not let up. But hey, look at that. Looks like, I don't want to say it's gonna top out here, but it's probably. However, these daily yield spreads are just so positive. Now, this is a likely spot for the month to find the top. It is a higher probability spot to find a top for any given month around this area. So who knows? Let's assume that is the top on euro dollar. And the reason, just to get some clarity, the reason why we saw this rise up was explicitly because of, hey, there's this big boom in European defense spending because of this quote-unquote coalition of the willing. However, it seems more likely that due to the increased probability of Fed rate cuts, due to some increased probability in recession from these tariffs, that is what's causing all these yield spreads here to rise and print green across all these different bond yield durations. So from 2-year up to 30-year, not necessarily 1 year here on the shortest of terms, but if we go ahead and do a replay here, all the yield spreads here were at 4, and now today we're at 5.8. So the yield spreads are increasing in rate of change. So the yield spreads are getting stronger, which, while, don't get me wrong, I want to be short euro dollar going into the future, and that actually is the primary expectation of most analysts that you read from the outlooks, right? And in the Discord, you can read a bunch of analysis from a bunch of different institutions. And this is all free, publicly available stuff. All I'm doing is sharing the public-facing URLs to them. Like, you're not downloading anything through that channel. Just for clarification, there's no redistribution going on over there. So with that done, when you go and you read those outlooks, you'll actually see a lot of people are like, okay, we understand those yield spreads are positive. We understand that the Fed rate cuts are increasing, but relative to what we expect the ECB to do, and frankly, a lot of the other G7 central banks, we actually expect them to be cutting more, frankly. A lot of, like, for example, when the US tariffs got put on earlier today, we actually got this bit way down here. Yeah, chances of Bank of Canada rate cut this month went up to 65% probability. That is a huge, huge swing. Now, I don't want to totally miss on this currency manipulation stuff, but I think I've effectively glossed over it well, which is, hey, the S&P now has some certainty on what Trump's policy is, that he's actually going to enforce some of these tariffs or weakening currencies. However, and actually that could be one of the primary reasons why Trump bumped up his tariffs from 10 to 20% now that I think about it. Because he explicitly mentioned China as in this group, in this currency manipulators group. So that could be one of the reasons, right? He didn't say quite for sure, but I'm pretty sure we'll be getting more information on that later. But let's actually check out something like Euro Swiss just for a little bit of context here. Right? Swissie's been getting stronger, and now look, from here over to here, for the last 41 calendar days, 29 trading days, yield spreads have been net negative. It's had a downward pushing bias on Euro Swissy, meaning, hey, Swiss franc is getting some benefit here. Now, for the first time in a while, we have positive net yield spreads across duration and across time. So I'd start to say things are starting to turn in favor of a weakening Swissy, especially if the Ukraine stuff actually comes to an end, right? If the Ukrainian war comes to an end. That would give a lot of relief. It's more or less a matter then of, okay, sure, you're at least on the euro side of things. Let's not lose track here, because the next thing I'm about to say is, okay, there would be a nice benefit to the euro side if the Ukrainian war ended. However, with how war hawkish everyone is in, as far as all the European leaders go, Merz, Starmer, Macron, Pretorius, all those guys, they're going to try and push for still more military spending and infrastructure spending. They already said hundreds of billions of euros to Ukraine. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not going to be great. That's going to be a lot of government spending. But on top of that, you have European tariffs coming in just around the bend. Remember this over here? Reciprocal tariffs start April 2nd. Well, that goes for Europe as well. We could very easily see some once those tariffs get applied to Europe, it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is going to be on the euro. Now, I don't have any particularly strong expectations on just how Europe will react to the tariff event, but I can take a guess that's probably not going to be good, right? I think everyone has that kind of common sense. It's probably not going to be, it's not going to help the euro appreciate against the dollar. It's not going to be particularly a risk-on event, to say the least, right? So with that said and done, I kind of expect a more choppy market going forward. The yield spreads seem to be a general good indicator for the moment going forward here, considering how well the market is reacting to them. And here, I'll turn, this song's on the louder side for me, so I'm gonna turn it down just a hair. Alrighty, let's see here. I got something here on my squawk. Shenenbaum says, it is not so easy for auto manufacturers to move operations to the US. Production is more expensive there. Yeah, you keep saying that, Shenenbaum. It's not like Tesla's here or anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tesla's also in China and in a lot of other places, but Tesla and a lot of the battery manufacturing and SpaceX, I mean, all of Elon Musk's stuff is very, very advanced manufacturing, and that's all done in the US. I mean, for SpaceX specifically, that's a rocket company, so the US government wouldn't allow you to build that anywhere else, right? That's built in the US for regulatory reasons on top of, nationalist reasons, right? So let's keep that in mind for comparison. Anyways, I did mention in the stream topics today that BTC USD was hanging on to 83,000 like Mufasa on a cliff. And we just broke under it, man. We just broke under it. But you can see how it's been trying to hold sideways here for the last 13 hours, trying to hold these prices up. And it's really going to depend, I think, on Trump's address tonight. Let's actually talk about that a little bit. Trump is going to be addressing both chambers of the U.S. Congress tonight, the House and the Senate, which it's going to be kind of, I believe it's more or less a State of the Union, more or less, right? If I Google search it, Trump State of the Union, because this is an address to both houses of Congress, is that not a State of the Union? Yeah, here it is. Why is Trump's speech not called a State of the Union address today? Yeah, he'll be in front of both chambers of commerce. Usually presidents deliver those remarks in January or February. The U.S. Constitution requires the president updates Congress and recommends policies, although the founding document doesn't specify precisely when that address should take place. Okay. Alright. So he's just fulfilling a constitutional duty, I believe, by addressing both houses of Congress tonight. I'm expecting it. Oh, yep, a lot of notifications here. No, that's just the phone catching all the old notifications from just a tad earlier today. So what can we expect from Trump's speech later tonight? Well, he'll probably reiterate a lot of what he said in yesterday's speech. So he'll probably reiterate tariffs. And whenever Trump says something about tariffs, it causes a move because all of the bots listening in to Trump's speeches hear that and they immediately start moving in the direction that they hear the tariff commentary moving. But the one thing I know a lot of people are watching out for in the address last night is any updates, any follow-ups to Ukraine. Now, this is where I'll open the Ukraine section. This is all some background here. Feel free to read all this. But this is what Trump said. I'll let you know tomorrow night. I don't think the Ukraine minerals deal is dead. So this is what Trump is referring to by his speech tonight. I will let you know tomorrow night. I don't think the Ukraine minerals deal is dead. And then we have this right here. Oh, I thought this was a particularly insightful bit of commentary. Talking just about, hey, where's the global left sitting against this weird period in history where a lot of parties on the right are gaining power and reputation and control over world governments. And we're kind of in a transitionary period between these new right-wing nationalist governments and the global left sort of governments. And you can pause and read that for a second, because I find that commentary to be particularly insightful, particularly good to hear and listen to. And I spend a lot of time on X. I have a, if I go ahead and I do this, I have a private list. I have a lot of private lists, but I have a research analyst list and I have a heads of research list. And there's a bunch of people in here. I try and put essentially anyone who's at the top of a food chain at a hedge fund or who's posting Bloomberg charts, right? Let's see, Zoud, Chief Emerging Markets Economist at Bloomberg, Senior Fellow at Harvard, right? So these are all, heads of research are all senior level people at different firms, funds, economic think tanks and whatnot. And then research analysts is everyone under that. So there's like 1,000 people in that research analysts list, and there's like 200-300 people in the heads of research list. And I have a few other lists here, but those are just the two. And I get a lot of use out of X just from using those two lists. Those are two fantastic pieces, two little fantastic tools that I use for helping me get additional research done and tapping into what other trader and economists and analyst expectations are for the world and other asset classes. It's very, very insightful. So because it's on my mind, and I did scroll past it a little earlier, I do want to say this for everyone who is interested in PineScript mentorship, who is interested in the PineScript streams. There is going to be another PineScript stream this week because it looks like TradingView is now taking a look at the bug I sent them. I got it. My bug escalated the other day, and now they're looking at it, and they said we identified the issue. This is an issue. Okay, so Joe found a bug in PineScript and properly reported it. Yeah, man. I gave them a whole... You know, whenever you do a bug report, it's always annoying when you... I've been on the receiving end of bug reports, so it's always annoying when someone sends you like a 2,000 block, you know, code, and they're like, hey, I have this one little bug on this one specific line. I'm like, couldn't you like double check and triple check and test that this is actually a bug before you report it to me, and make like an isolated case in a separate project that's like a 20 or 50 line bit of code, right? So that's what I did. I made a demonstration bug script to demo out the bug. So the code is as short as possible to get to the bug as quickly as possible to demonstrate what the expected outcome is and what the buggy unexpected outcome is. And I try and always do that with my bug reports. And because of that, you get your answers and your fixes faster. So I'm very, very happy with this. So if any of you guys want to hang out for PineScripting streams, you'll get notified if you're in the PineScript mentorship over here on WAP. And if you're also subscribed to the Boss Benchmarks YouTube channel, which is different from the Plan the Profit one. That one's going to be focused exclusively on indicators and PineScript. And yeah, there'll be walkthroughs on that channel for all these indicators up here. But for now, let's get on with the stream. Let's move on. If anyone's got any questions, now would be a great time. Great time to get them, because I am ready to move on to just talk about whatever I want to talk about. And that's mostly going to actually be dollar CAD. CAD. Wow. Yeah. So this trade survived here. This trade is still good. And there was an ad. So real quick, I'm just going to do this live on the stream. This was at 1443. This was over here. Yeah, pardon me while I do this. 1443.96. There we go. And so far, so good. We'll see how that does. Again, I'm going to stay more aggressive on the USD CAD longs than I am on trying to catch Eurodollar shorts, right? Because remember, Eurodollar has all this other stuff going on right now. They're not expected to, they just had their rate cut. They're not expected to cut anytime immediately. And relative to the Fed just had 2 more rate cuts priced in. And just to illustrate that, let me go to the CME countdown tool. I'll show you guys where to find this stuff. So if you go to the CME group, don't get me wrong, most people will just go here and click on these dates and say, oh, look at this percentage here. Look how the percentages are increasing. I want to show you, just with one little click, a slightly easier way of doing this. There we go. Now let's make this table big and fat. So now you can see, okay, here are the in blue, these little blue cells, is where the majority probability is for what terminal rate we're expecting at which meeting. And this goes all the way out to 2026. So over the next 2 meetings, right, for, what is it? That's March 19th. Yeah, so at March 19th, we're expecting a hold. In, I believe that's May 7th, we're expecting a hold. And then June 18th, we're expecting a cut. So there's your cut. And then in the following month, another cut. And then October, another cut. So those are your 3 cuts expected. Now, those are just majority expectations. You can see the probabilities are also kind of marginal. Right here, you could argue like, hey, you get 1 or 2 relatively hawkish economic reports, and you can go back to expecting no cut here at this meeting. Same thing with this one over here. So these odds are a bit tight at the moment. You get a couple of economic data points, and it could easily flip you back to expecting 1 or 2, or maybe you get even more data that is dovish for the US, indicative of a slowdown, and suddenly now we actually increase the probability of these scenarios happening, and maybe a 4th cut starts getting priced in around December. All these scenarios need to be kind of just made aware of. Like, we just need to be aware, okay, these things are happening, and they are materially impacting how we interpret these charts here. But not only that, it's going to materially impact how we interpret Bitcoin a lot. Because if we start getting an economic slowdown, I'm not too sure Bitcoin's going to do great, even with Fed rate cuts. Because there's a lot of people who are like, hey, you know, if you just look at DXY, and you see DXY going lower because the Fed is cutting and all the other currencies are doing well, that also should mean that Bitcoin should be doing really, really well. Well, not necessarily. If the reason why the US dollar is going down is because all these tariffs are putting huge weight on the US economy, and to counteract that, the Fed is cutting and cutting and cutting their cash rate to try and stimulate the economy. On top of that, inflation's already around 3% right now, so you have inflation risks of going even higher. And if the tariffs are hitting employment, you're going to see slight bumps in unemployment. Also, when it comes down to Doge impacting employment, from the research I've done over the last 2 weeks, it seems like most of any sort of major negative hit from Doge will come in reports due in the second half of this year, because some people are furloughed, some people are, you know, they took the money for leaving their position, so they could still technically be on payrolls until they're actually off the government payrolls, but by then they are looking for another job, so they could be transitioning into the private sector. So you see net nothing crazy show up in the payrolls. Needless to say, when it comes down to looking at Doge's impact on unemployment and jobless claims, it's a bit more tricky because there's overlap and different kinds of layoffs going on in Doge. There isn't just a simple, okay, everyone's fired. There's like, okay, we'll pay you to leave, and you know, you'll get 6 months pay, you'll be on the payroll for the next 6 months. And that changes how some of the economic data needs to be interpreted. It's a lot more finicky. That's really where you need to be reading outlooks to get more nuanced expectations on, you know, from guys who are actual professionals at doing analysis on that kind of data. So to go back to the prior point on, okay, just because the US dollar is getting weaker doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin is going to get stronger because of the USD side of this going down. If the US economy is doing poorly, there's going to be people who want to liquidate their crypto, and they might see relatively higher gains in liquidating their crypto and putting that into equities that might drop more significantly, or might provide, they might have options to, hey, bond yields are going to maybe stay higher for longer in the US. So I'm going to go ahead and shift over to a more stable thing. Now, most crypto guys are not going to do that, right? In my opinion. But they might for a short period of time if Bitcoin underperformance does occur over the summer. We'll have to wait and see how hard the US is hit by tariffs and if the US dollar falls significantly. Because even if the US dollar rises and the world economies are slowing down, and the US economy, while still getting hit hard, isn't hit so hard to cause the recession that some people are calling for now, then yeah, sure, Bitcoin will probably stay relatively flat. I wouldn't expect it to fall below 70K in that scenario. Personally, I wouldn't expect it to fall below 70K in that scenario. In fact, I'd expect it to probably creep on up because, there's a little thing called Bitcoin supply, and there's a limited amount of it. So, it'll probably, Bitcoin always has this amazing positive drift to it. An amazing, amazing thing. Alrighty. Well, I don't see any new chats, but I really do look forward to any questions you guys might have. Let me go ahead and check out the stream, see who's watching. Alright, we got a couple of guys on YouTube. Oh, man, yeah. Alright, sorry, Joe. Sorry to be late. Overall volume is okay. Music just a little splitting hairs a bit high. Gotcha. Well, I turned it down by that time. Yeah, so it seems like it seems like my Social Ninja isn't updating things proper. Let's go ahead and reset the service. Let's go ahead and reset it. Everybody say hi in the chat. Let's see if we can get this working. Help me debug stuff. help me debug the YouTube stream here. Oh, what's going on? Okay, that's working. Let's see here. Hide. No, what's going on? Alright guys, go ahead and type in the chat now, say hello. Yeah, boss in the house. The volume is fine now. Yeah. Alright, cool. Yeah, everybody say hi in the chat. It's nice to hear you guys. It's nice to hear you guys. And I also see you guys over there in WAP. WAP sound is great. Can't listen to any music though, but I can hear you loud and clear. Oh, does that mean you can't hear any of the music? Alright, alright. So it seems like the desktop audio for the music ain't working on WAP. That's kind of sad. Well, WAP's live streaming function is fairly new, so for the guys who are hanging out on WAP, that'll kind of suck, but there's nothing I can really do considering I'm sharing my whole monitor, and maybe there is something that I can do. Let's go ahead, stop the screen share, entire screen over here, audio. maybe that'll work. Maybe you'll be able to hear some music now over there on WAP. You always have to tick a little toggle button on another streaming platform, guys, for all you guys on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. Yeah, so let's see. Any music now? Yeah, perfection. All right, perfect. So I'll just have to remind myself to make sure to tick that little box in the future. Yeah, man. I am very, very satisfied with the new stream layout. Everything's so much more clean and productive. It's very, very, very nice. So let's see, anything else here that I can go over? Oh yes, that's right. Let's go ahead and bring up oil here. Let's go like so, yeah. So we had a sharp fall in oil over here. OPEC to begin long-delayed supply restart amid Trump pressure. OPEC will proceed with plans to restart halted oil production after repeated delays, despite pressure from President Donald Trump to reduce oil prices. In an unexpected move, the group led by Saudi Arabia and Russia will increase production by 138,000 barrels per day in April, according to a delegate. This move lower could actually help the United States inflation from going incredibly high in response to these tariffs, because we are expecting an inflationary impulse from the tariffs. This could be the Saudis and the Russians saying, okay, if you help us get everything resolved in Ukraine, then we will do this for you. So then your tariff policy doesn't create too much inflation, and you'll get not crazy economic relief maybe from this, but you're also not going to have crazy soaring high oil prices, and it's effectively saying we're not going to commit economic warfare against you by trying to cut supply more and more and more to try and add inflationary pressure to the United States and try and induce some kind of recession in the United States as they attempt the tariff strategy. So that's quite interesting. According to a delegate, it is the first in a series of monthly increases to restart production that has been halted for more than 2 years and will gradually restore a total of 2.2 million barrels per day. Now, don't get me wrong, I could be wrong on my interpretation, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of the things discussed at some point with the Saudis and the Russians. Because remember, one of the very first leaders that Trump met with was the Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS. And Trump, we kind of know this now, Trump has had backdoor private phone calls with Putin. So there's a non-zero chance that what I said theoretically happened. However, I'm totally speculating. I'm just 100% speculating. We do know that the Saudis, that these guys have wanted to get oil supply back up, but a lot of the cut has been in order to maintain higher oil prices. So maybe with the end of the Ukrainian war around the bend here, they're betting on Trump succeeding, and hopefully Trump is successful and is able, and then Saudi Arabia and Russia are able to send more oil to more places without fear of either getting attacked, and then, we can put more effort behind also Israel, Gaza, get that mess cleaned up, and then the US can send the full brunt of their focus over to China. So let's not get too all over the place as far as the analysis goes. So let's continue on here and stay on topic with OPEC. So OPEC will go ahead with April oil output increase. OPEC to also proceed with output hikes beyond April. And OPEC could pause or reverse the decision based on market conditions. Then we have this thing on Israel, Gaza. This is not a great development, but I put it here because it's relevant to actually just the fleeting thought that I had back here. Israel are to resume the Gaza war in 10 days, now 9 days from when this was sent, if the impasse persists. So they've been having problems with various negotiation issues. I won't go into it here on the stream, but there have been issues going on with the peace and the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. So, we'll see what happens in a few days, maybe closer to the end of this week, because this 10 days is up around the middle of next week. So we'll likely get more serious news on this impasse over the weekend and whether or not it has been overcome, or this is just a passing threat, so then the Israelis have some kind of negotiating room, right? Maybe this is a negotiation tactic. But usually the Israelis follow through on these kinds of things. Usually the Israelis follow through on these kinds of statements. And so again, yeah, if anybody wants me to cover chart, now would be a perfect time, because now I have covered all my stuff here. I will go ahead and upload this to the general chat here in Discord after the stream is done. So if you want these notes here, go ahead and hang out in the general chat in Discord. The link to the Discord is here on WAP. Just click on Plan the Profit Discord, hop on in. And then there is this one link that we haven't clicked on, which is Palmer's X post. Oh yeah, he's talking about all the people in this picture are the people who laughed at Trump saying Europe is too reliant on Russian oil. A lot of the people in this room laughed at Trump when in 2018 he said Europe is too reliant on Russian oil and you're gonna get into a bad energy situation by being so reliant. And then, yeah, the people in this picture are the ones funding Russia's invasion. They collectively sent billions of dollars more to Russia than to Ukraine last year. Wow. Again, Palmer Luckey is a very, very good person to follow. Yeah, Macron gets serious for being a nuclear realist. Everyone else sending billions of dollars to Putin's war machine because they can't stomach paying a bit more for energy. Yeah. And he's talking in retrospect back in 2018, not now. These guys aren't sending money to Putin now. He's talking about before the war occurred. These guys were sending a lot of money for Russian energy back then, and Trump was pointing out how big of a problem that was going to be later down the road, and all that money now is being used. All that money to buy all that natural gas from Nord Stream before it was blown up, right, is now being used for the Russian war effort. Alrighty, you guys. We are going to have another stream later today. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Another thing in the Discord is the Trump watch thread. We haven't had too many new RSS feed posts from the Trump watch thread today. Right, let's see here. This is just English decrees. Federal funding will stop for any college that allows illegal protests. No masks, right? And this is the Trump address to Congress. I'll have a stream later today where we will all be watching this along together, and I'll be giving commentary as we go along. I'm sure a lot of you guys might want to be watching your favorite political commentator, but I'm gonna be doing a live stream to record my thoughts and watch the market reactions. So I'll have Trump on the right side of the screen here during the stream, and we'll have some market charts on the left-hand side, especially the Eurodollar, because like we reviewed here earlier, Trump said he's going to follow up on any negotiation updates with Zelensky at the address tonight. So I'm going to host another live stream, and we'll see if there's any new and positive, hopefully positive, developments on the mineral deal with Zelensky later tonight. Okay, so with that all said, I am ready to end the stream. I'm going to be hopping into a friend's stream after this over on WAP. I'm trying to get the link so I can share it here. Yeah, so if you guys want to hang out with me and a friend of mine in another stream, if you still got some time to kill, there you go. Kick, Twitch, YouTube, and let's also send it out over here on the WAP end. And with that, I'll see you guys in either my friend's stream, Discord, or in the stream later today. It's not scheduled yet. But I'm going to set it up after this stream. So you'll see a new scheduled stream for later today for the Trump address later tonight after this stream ends. If you want to make sure you get a notification for it, just make sure you have notifications on in the Plan the Profit Discord, or at least make sure you right click and make sure you have notifications on for this streams channel. And I'll go ahead and send a ping out, when the stream gets made and when the stream goes live. So with that all said, I'll say thank you all very much for watching. This is a very, very chill and I think quite productive stream that we did. Again, thank you very much, Harold, for hanging out, being a friend in the chat. And thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe and all that. Boost the channel, boost my small channel. The analytics have been great, so I really appreciate all the hard work everyone's been doing in sharing my content with their friends. So I very, very much appreciate it. And I'll do my best to continue bringing you guys some good content and some good research in the Discord server. So with that all said and done, I will see you all in a bit.